Hi guys, so today's video is going to be my tentative May TBR. If you missed my storytime vlog, I let all of you know that my life is kind of turned upside down a little bit because my dad has been in and out of the hospital since April 4th. You may recall I had some posts that the doctors thought he had pneumonia. Turned out it was not pneumonia, it was something more serious, and then long story short, he ended up having to have open heart surgery. That was last week. He should be coming home this week, which is a huge relief. The surgery went really well. So a big thank you to everybody who has been sending your love and thoughts and prayers and things like that, and just been generally very kind and supportive through this time. As a result of all of this, because my father is in his wise years, it's a nice way of saying my dad's old. Because of all of this, my husband and I have decided to move in with him to help take care of things and to help take care of his house and him. So that's why you've been seeing a lot of changes. This is me at my dad's house in this room. You've maybe seen me filming in another spot, which is in another room. So that's why things are all over the place, and that's why I'm calling this my tentative May TBR. I honestly have so much catching up to do because I did not basically read hardly at all in the month of April. So I'm hoping that May I'll be able to settle into a routine. My dad's going to be coming home. Hopefully I'll be able to pick up some books here and there. It's obviously not my number one concern, but if I do get around to reading, these are going to be the books that I try to pick up. I absolutely would love if I am able to participate in the Asian readathon that Read with Cindy is hosting. If I'm able to do that, I have a whole video detailing a bunch of books that you can find on Scribd that will qualify for the readathon, as well as just some books I'm hoping to get around to. I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to pick up any of those, but the one that is I absolutely want to make time to read this would be Grass. This is a graphic novel, actually, about a woman who was sold to the Japanese as a sex slave during World War II. The setup, I believe, is like an interview where the person is interviewing this woman and she's kind of telling her life story, and it just sounds so tragic, but also so important. If I'm able to get around to nothing else with the Asian readathon but this, I'm okay with that. Next up, we have the sequel to The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, which would be The Invasion of the Tearling, and this is a story that I picked up a while back and loved. I've heard so many mixed things about the sequels, but I'm still really wanting to give them a try. And at the beginning of the year, I had set a goal to try and not let some of the unread series that I've started get out of hand. I would like to actually finish some of these series, and this is one of them. It's only a trilogy. I feel like it's very doable. The first one follows a girl who, right at the beginning of the story, it is time for her to ascend to the throne, and right away there's assassins after her. She has all these unforeseen enemies, and it's just very good. I just had a really good time with it. I thought the main character was definitely somebody you could root for, but flawed, and I really liked that. I've been wanting to pick this up for a long time, so hopefully May will be the month. Going along with that same idea of trying to finish some of the unread series we have Winter by Marissa Meyer. This is the last book in the Lunar Chronicles, which is a young adult science fiction story, and it's a retelling within each book, but each book builds on the previous one. So the first one, it's a retelling of Cinderella, then you have a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, but each new character that is introduced, it's not its own separate story, it ties in to the overall story, and this one is the last one, and it follows the retelling of Snow White, and it's the only one I have left, and I really want to get around to it. I definitely think when I've picked these up in the past, they feel like the younger end of young adult. Obviously, the age range is 12 to 18, and that's a very big age range. A 12-year-old and 18-year-old, very different from one another usually, and so I definitely think this leans more toward the younger side, but it's one of those stories. I mean, I'm very curious. I recently did pros and cons for both adult and young adult fantasy. Science fiction is like pretty similar. A lot of times they get lumped in together. And for me, when talking about the pros, a lot of people were talking about how like they love being able to get lost in it. They love the way that they can just enjoy a story that is fun, things like that. One thing I didn't see, but I'd like to mention, is that I love that if there's a younger person in your life, that you can like pass on this story to them later. And I have two little nieces. They're as sweet as can be. And I just love the idea that once they get a little older, that I can start kind of sharing some of my stories with them. And I feel like the Lunar Chronicles is great for that. There's definitely like really high stakes for their world. People die. There's like this plague basically that's come around. I would love to see how it wraps up. I want to see if the series ending is good. And then, like I said, someday maybe I could recommend it to my little nieces. Another book that I would love to get to, but honestly, out of all the books I'm going to show you, this is the one that I'm like, no sweat if I don't get around to this anytime soon. And that would be Dry by Neal Shusterman. This is a story of what if, which is basically what Neal Shusterman does apparently, which is, oh, what if we like basically started to run out of water? And I'm intrigued, and I liked the Scythe trilogy, so I would love to see how he tackles this, which is a far less extreme, well, it's an extreme situation, but Scythe is like mandated murder. Running out of water is obviously a very tangible thing that I feel like we can connect with, like, oh my gosh, what would I do if I ran out of water? And you don't have to suspend disbelief quite as much with this one as maybe his others. However, when making this little, like, very vague TBR for myself at the beginning of the year and scheduling this for May, because I was like, it's going to be so hot in Arizona where I live in May. So it seemed like a good time to read it. Despite that, it's not like this is a conclusion to a trilogy or anything like that, or a series, and it's not something I feel like I have to get around to anytime soon. But I still want to. Next up would be the buddy read book for this month, as well as the buddy read from last month, because with everything going on, I just did not have time to get to it. And that would be both The Book Thief and Rage of Dragons. Rage of Dragons is the official buddy read book for May. The way I've been doing buddy reads, or had the intention of doing buddy reads before recently, is to get to see all of your thoughts over on the app Byzance, who I have partnered with for this video. It's this app that is focused on buddy reads, as well as kind of tracking your progress for, here's a book I want to read, here's a book that I'm currently reading, and then here's a book that I've read. It's kind of like if you took specific parts of Goodreads and then you focused on those, which I really like. Goodreads to me is very chaotic, so I've always looked for a good alternative. I definitely think Byzance offers that, and once I finally get around to reading The Book Thief officially, I am so excited to see your thoughts, so I'll be chatting with you all over there. My husband, Sean, the way we've been doing the buddy reads is that we don't get to talk to each other. He's buddy reading these with me. We don't get to talk to each other until we're both done, and on camera, we film a podcast-style book chat, and that's what we're going to do for both of these. And I think because of everything going on in our lives, we're going to do like a big mashup with The Night Circus, The Book Thief, and then this one, and maybe more, we'll see. But either way, I'm really excited to get to chat with all of you about this one on Byzance, and my husband Sean will be chatting with you over on Byzance for Rage of Dragons. Continuing on with the I Have Fallen Behind, I need to catch up books, we have the last book in the Grisha trilogy, Language of Thorns, which is a collection of short stories in the Grishaverse, and then King of Scars. And I have read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I am doing this reread of the Grisha trilogy, and I want to do all of that so that I can get to these last two. These were on my TBR last month, and I still really want to get around to them, especially because I would love to do essentially like an all about the Grishaverse video and kind of do a rundown of what you should read when, just some general information about it, about the upcoming adaptation. The last few books, once again, are books that I'm hoping to catch up on, and that would be a couple of Joe Abercrombie books. We have Best Served Cold, which is in his adult fantasy world, same as the First Law trilogy's world, and then Half a King, which is a different world, part of his young adult series. I've heard pretty good things about this one, so I'm hoping I'll actually be able to finish this before the end of April. At the time I'm filming, it's still April, so I'm hoping I can finish this one, maybe finish Grisha, the third Grisha book, a couple of these, but either way, I enjoyed First Law Trilogy, but I've heard people say that Joe Abercrombie's other works are actually even better. So I'm excited to see if I agree with that. And then the other one, of course, Dead House Gates. I'm so sorry, Malazan fans, that I'm still not done with it. I had it, look at this. I had it all tabbed up. I'm like, I'm just going to read a little bit every single day, and then I'll have the review, and it's going to be great. And then my dad's heart was like, no, let's not do that. Obviously, my dad's more important than Dead House Gates. Normally, with my TBR, I have breakdowns for a week at a time for Byzance. Even if it's not the official buddy read book, I still try to have breakdowns over on the app. But currently, with everything going on, I just don't think I'm going to have the time to do that. However, because so many of these books were previously on my TBR, I actually do have breakdowns for a lot of these. So if you go to Bysand's and click currently reading and then look at the salon section, you'll find a week's breakdown. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you're going to be reading or hoping to read in May. Let me know if you're planning on doing the Asian readathon. But anyway, thanks so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.